New Zealand Post is at the leading edge when it comes to operating alternative power vehicles within its business. Its Hyundai Xcient FCEV was the first of its kind in New Zealand to be put into commercial operation and has now clocked over 100,000 real-world kilometres. This milestone coincided with New Zealand Post adding a Mercedes-Benz eActros 300 as well as 3 Scania 25P track units to its operational fleet. Ramesh Lal and Greg Carley have all been contracted to New Zealand Post for decades, and in this month's video we catch up with each of these operators and sample the 3 heavy electric vehicle variants now working within their individual fleets. Neil Dennett owns Shea Transport, and the Xcient entered his fleet as a replacement for a typical 540 horsepower, 8-axle, 18-metre truck and trailer unit. Fitted with a 7-metre body and pulling a 10-metre trailer, it loses a metre on the truck, but with little battery weight impacting the load, it can still haul a load over the Bombays to Hamilton without much concern. It does operate slightly under capacity because that was the only configuration Hyundai could bring to the table at the time, said Neil. The Xcient's day shift driver, Deb Narayan, typically runs 2 loads between the Onehunga Courier Depot and the Auckland Processing Centre, as well as 2 between the South Hub Depot and the APC each day. Yeah, it was a different feeling at first. On a diesel you can feel the revs, the clutch engagement, that something's happening. In this, you just hit the accelerator. But I'm used to it now, it's smoother and it's quieter. Jumping on board with night driver Gerdit Dillon, his first stop is the Haringa hydrogen refueler at Waitomo on Roscommon Road. As interesting as it is, it's actually a bit anticlimactic. It's just like refueling as we know it, possibly easier. After about 8 minutes, 15.92 kgs of hydrogen tops up the tanks. In a typical night shift, the Xcient will cover around 300 kilometres and use most of its 31 kg storage capacity of hydrogen. Maximum range is quoted at 400 kilometres, with the current average hydrogen consumption sitting at 12.5 kilometres per kg. And with 2,237 Nm of torque driving through the Allison 6-speed automatic transmission, it gains and maintains speed incredibly easily. That electric motor and Allison Auto Box combination is interesting too. The shifts are there, but you have to really be paying attention to detect them. It'll easily maintain 85 all the way, says Gerdit. Heading down the Bombays, he sets the Allison's 4-stage retarder at stage 3, maintaining 85 km per hour and adding 4 km to its range. You don't push the torque in this. I'm easy on the truck compared to a diesel. The same load would feel heavy in one of the diesels. In this, I can't feel it pulling the load. The Xcient FCEV is impressively quiet as well, returning an average sound meter reading of just 65 decibels at 80 km per hour. The fuel cell system emits a gentle whir now and then as it creates the energy to power the battery pack, supplying the drive energy to the electric motor. It's as simple to operate as a diesel equivalent, and that's what Neil was looking for, said Ryan Beale, National Road Operations Manager for New Zealand Post. In 2022, it was estimated that the Xcient FCEV would save around 50 tonnes of CO2 over 80,000 kilometres. With calculations now based off of the 2.4 kilometres per litre average consumption of the 540 horsepower 8-axle unit that it replaced, the Xcient has actually saved 41,667 litres of diesel and 111 tonnes of CO2 over 100,000 kilometres. Owner of Lal's Transport, Ramesh Lal, was previously running an e-canter between the North Shore Depot and Hibiscus Coast Operations Centre in Silverdale, putting 100,000 kilometres on its clock. So it was a natural progression to the eActros, which has immediately doubled vehicle capacity to 12 New Zealand Post roller cages and more than doubled the range. Naturally, putting a heavy EV to work requires supporting infrastructure, and there were early lessons regarding charging to be learned. Ryan explains that New Zealand Post does not want its vehicles to compete with public charging facilities and has worked with Auckland-based commercial electrical services company Trifecta to install its own YHI charging stations. The eActros driver AJ Kuma completes 5 46km cycles between the North Shore Depot and the Hibiscus Coast Operations Centre in Silverdale Monday to Friday, and ends his day with an evening run to the APC and back again. And in the early hours of the morning, another driver runs between Ellerslie and the North Shore and pops the truck back on its charger to top it up for AJ. That's approximately 390 kilometres altogether, and AJ is able to complete his shift on one charge. The range capacity from the truck's 336 kWh lithium-ion battery packs has been a game changer compared to the eCanter, which had to be plugged in and topped up each stop. Average economy over the eActros' life so far is 93.9 kWh per 100 kilometres. With 11 cages sitting around 4.4 tonnes on board, the weight is barely noticeable. The eActros acquits itself with minimal fuss, accelerating smoothly and easily with the 2-speed transmission shifting at 30 km/h, and its electric torque carrying us on from there. AJ has 5 stages of regenerative braking at its disposal, operating as any other conventional retarder would, with the added benefit of adding a bit of charge back into the batteries. It is soft, easy and very smooth and quiet. Very different but very good, says AJ about working in an electric truck. Earlier this year, New Zealand Post moved into its new Auckland Processing Centre in Wiri. It brings together New Zealand Post, Customs and MPI for national and international processing all in the one site. This meant customs air cans would need to be transported to and from the site and the airport, and that meant more scope for 3 new electric Scania 25P 4x2 track units in the fleet. Pulling specialised 10-metre hard-side through-wharf trailers fitted with Gelota Hydro-Roll powered cargo roller floor systems, these units have now hit the road and are operated by Greg Carley Transport. The Scania's operation is low mileage but high utilisation. Their docks at the APC have been equipped with 2 dual gun chargers so that they can top up when they offload. Once everything is fully set up and ironed out, 6 drivers will double shift the 3 trucks. They are the first dedicated BEV tractor units Scania New Zealand has supplied, and the company claims the 25Ps offer up to 20 hours of operation on a single charge. Fully charged, the truck we sample shows a max range of 223 kilometres, and so far it is averaging 169.6 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres. They run a dedicated route from the APC up Roscommon Road alongside the motorway and down Puanui Road to the airport, a 16km round trip at a max speed of 60 km/h. In a full shift, they'll clock up 160 kilometres. The Scania is 230 kilowatts, 310 horsepower of continuous power and 2,200 newton meters of torque is more than sufficient for the task. Get up and go is plentiful, with a smooth shift at about 30 km/h by the 2-speed internal transmission. So far I'm really impressed. They're just a pleasure to drive, Greg comments. The trucks are all tangible now. People can come and drive them and see the benefits. I feel, especially within Auckland, BEV will be holistically beneficial. For example, a truck sitting on Puanui Road for half an hour idling is burning diesel for nothing, says Ryan. Naturally, few operators have the benefits at hand that New Zealand Post is lucky to have, but what that does afford the rest of the industry is an insight into how the vehicles can be expected to operate, what infrastructure is required and how it fits into the picture, and what needs to be done now to meet future expectations. And on that note, Ryan concludes, if we want to advance this, the industry has to work together. New Zealand is remote and it's not easy to compete with scale. VDAM is also an issue for us. As a country, we all need to jump into it. To read the full story on New Zealand Post's electric journey, then catch a copy of the October 2024 issue of New Zealand Trucking Magazine, or subscribe to our digital platform to read the full feature. See the links below. Also, remember to hit those like and subscribe buttons to be notified of fresh new content as we upload it for you. Have a fantastic month out there, take care and travel safe.